Yeah, it's clicked and we're live
Yay.
now.
Yes.
Yay.
Cool.
Time is it? Oh, it's 8:03. Oh my goodness. We're
We're
3
3
minutes
minutes
behind.
late, but I think it's okay.
That's my favorite part
Yeah,
though, is like I told Wes, I was like, it might be more like 8:02.
You almost
So
got it.
it's okay.
I was
We're
close. I
not
was close.
perfect. We're not perfect, right?
I was
So
no. It's a
we try
hectic day
to.
today. Oh
So
my
hi
gosh.
everyone. As usual, we'll just share the live stream on our platforms, and we'll be starting in maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So it won't be really long.
Mm-hmm. Um, I was gonna say I don't even know what I was gonna say. I'm so tired. I'm sorry, guys. This is
You're
like
always so
not.
tired. I
Yeah,
think
I
man.
am
every
always.
episode.
I know every episode. I'm like, send help. But for real, you know, first day back at the office today, 2 years. Gotta, when you're a girl, you gotta get up a
Oh.
little bit earlier. Gotta put yourself all together. Do that commuting fun, and then commute home. And it's tiring to see a lot of people. I don't know how else to say it. It's tiring to see a lot of people and talk to them and make small talk.
But come on, it's also very nice to see people again, to go to the office again. I love it, to be honest. I've been going to the office every day for the past 3-4 months
Mm.
since August, and then of course we had a couple of months where we weren't allowed to go to work, but the rest of the time I love it.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I don't know. I got really used to rolling out of bed in my PJs and like getting that extra 45 minutes of sleep that I didn't spend doing my hair, which is pointless anyway since I got caught in the rainstorm on the way home. Alas. Can't win. Can't win.
Yeah, I'm almost
Oh
done,
well.
guys. Won't be
Yeah,
too
it won't be
Excellent.
long.
long. Me too. I'm almost there. Just a second.
I'm
Feel
good
free,
to go.
guys, to share the link and to talk with everybody to promote the show, also the live show, of course, and afterwards it's always you always can see the video afterwards on Facebook or social media or whatever, on Twitter, on YouTube, and everything. But feel free to
Okay.
share everything. Hey, Jean Francois, thanks for being here again. Thanks for
Oh,
always saying
Jeff,
hi.
how are you,
Yeah.
man?
Good. So I think I'm all good. I don't know if you guys are
Right?
good.
I'm
I'm
ready.
ready.
I'm ready. to roll.
Ready.
Ready.
Yeah.
Let's do this then. Let's start with the final countdown.
Hello, my friends. My name is Samuel Savy, and this week on the show, it's been 9 games without losing. The fans are smiling, the sun is shining, and we're first in the standings. Welcome to episode 81 of The Ball is Wrong. Now, Hady, I need you to pull out Joe Cortez's tweet right now, man.
Yeah, we have to start with him, right?
Joe Cortez hit us up. He said, please wax poetic about having a team at the top of the standings. I can only dream of such things. I know it's an expression, wax poetic, but I wanted to put it literal. So that's the last time you'll catch me poeting on the show. But there you go, Joe. I told you I
I
had
hope
you.
not.
I'm joined by Yves Paul and Ed Raphael as usual. How are you guys?
Fine.
Hanging in
Really
there.
fine.
Yeah.
Very excited about this show, and we have a special guest today.
Yes, we have Wes Boling well, in fact, the official radio voice of Nashville SC. Wes is always our guest when we need info on Nashville, and we're happy to have him again with us. How are you, Wes?
I'm good. Poetic Sam will wax because Montreal's defense has been anything but lax.
Oh,
Sure.
Oh.
Waxing poetic.
wow. Okay,
Great to be with
okay.
you guys again, and I understand if you want to kick me out right now.
No worries.
Good to
Hi,
be with
Wes.
you guys.
So, guys, we'll change it up a bit. We'll start this show with an interview. This time it's with Wes. He's gonna set the table for a trip to Tennessee on Wednesday. Before we'll dive into CF Montreal's week, including the in-depth review of the win in Charlotte. So I guess we'll jump right into it. Wes, I'll ask you my first question. Nashville is playing in the Western Conference after making a switch this season. Are there any particular differences you've noticed so far?
Yeah, great question. First off, playing in the West, but when Montreal comes to town Wednesday, it's going to be the second time in 3 league home matches that the top team in the East has come to Nashville. So it's like Nashville's getting the worst of both worlds, having to travel across the country over and over again in the West, but getting the best teams in the East coming to town. So congratulations to Montreal for being on that list and being the latest. It's been an interesting challenge for the team, I think. You know, if you look at the differences between the conferences, people have strong opinions about whether the East or the West is better. And I don't really fall on either side of that fence. I think the league has such parity that, you know, it depends on the year, but they seem pretty equal. But it's interesting in talking to Gary Smith, you know, Nashville SC's manager thinks that the Eastern Conference resembles a little more of the Philly, of the Red Bulls, the physical, the hard hitting. He likens it to the Premier League versus the Western Conference being more technical and tactical and possession based and mainland European. I thought that was a nice analogy that he drew before the first match against Seattle. But the real challenge of being in the Western Conference has nothing to do with the quality of the teams, even though they're excellent. It's been the travel for Nashville. Starting the season with 8 straight away from home is hard, even if you're going 3 or 4 hours away, of a drive, but to fly across the country and do that 8 straight weeks, even with an international break in between, really was challenging for this club. And they were pleased that they were the best team ever to do that, ever to start the season with an extended season opening road trip, best points per game of any team that's ever had to do that. And it's been immensely challenging, but I think they're coming through on the other side now.
Nice. And you have Robbie Tiranardi who says, hello, guys. Nice to see Wes on the show again. So you got some fans with us.
Yeah,
Wes.
good to hear from you. And we follow each other on Twitter. He's one of my other sources for Montreal updates, other than you guys, of course.
Nice. So, Wes, you were talking about that start of the season that was on the road. I guess that has something to do with the stadium, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
So, while you're finishing these touches, while you were finishing these touches to put on the new stadium, you were on the road. How did the fan base react? And do you think the team has good enough results at the moment?
Yeah, I think so. I think the team does. There will always be frustrating matches, and you guys know when you go on the road in MLS, you're guaranteed to have at least 3 or 4 just stinkers, just bad outings, and that's going to happen. It's happened, I would say, twice to Nashville so far. The Houston match this past weekend was rough. They lost 2-0 to a Houston team that is probably not going to be contending for Supporter Shield, I think we can safely say. But there were mitigating factors, of course, playing 120 minutes in the U.S. Open Cup on Wednesday before coming into that match and playing a pretty strong side, almost an A side against Atlanta. So that, and then there was a loss in Dallas earlier this year that was relatively lackluster, to quote what the team said after that one. But by and large, beyond that, the results have been good. I think, it's interesting when you see a team that's below the playoff line in the West, you automatically think, it's a fringe playoff contender. But I think because of what this club did last year, and because of the fact that 9 of those first 11 in league play have been on the road, you think this is actually projectable still to a team that has a chance of competing for a Supporter Shield, or at the very least to host a playoff match in the Western Conference. And I think the expectation among the fans is that. I think there's been some good pragmatism, some understanding that when you play 8 straight away from home, you're not going to be great in all 8 of those. To win 3 of those, to set the points mark that they did, I think people are generally pleased, or were after that. And now there's a little bit of concern just with playing 6 matches in 18 days, if you include U.S. Open Cup, and how the team can come out on the other side. So I think people might be breathing a bit of a sigh of relief when the international break hits, because as much as they want to see soccer every week, maybe they know their team needs a bit of a break from such a congested schedule.
Yeah, and your new stadium looks and sounds absolutely beautiful on TV. How massive is it for Nashville to have a proper home stadium now? And could you maybe describe the feature that you appreciate the most?
Oh man, it's hard to choose. And it's massive for Nashville. It's also a massive stadium, the largest soccer specific stadium in the US and Canada. And in talking with John Champion from ESPN after that first game, he said, you hear the extra 8,000 fans above what most MLS teams have. I think my favorite, there are a couple favorite features that I have. Number one, the architecture is very respectful of the neighborhood in which it was built. It was built in a very industrial neighborhood, and you don't see a bunch of glass or bright colors or anything. It's steel beams, simplistic design, to respect the neighborhood it was built in. And as somebody who grew up in Nashville and has seen so many obnoxious condos and apartments built, that say they're authentically Nashville, but they're bright pink and they're in the middle of where there used to be, favorite restaurants that have been there 50 years.
Yeah.
I respect a club going out of its way to really respect the architecture and the history of the town. That said, the other favorite thing I have is very bright and very gold, and it is a big glistening inn right at the entrance, the main fan entrance out off the plaza. And it's beautiful. It hangs about maybe 40-50 meters above that entrance. But at night, when the lights are lit up and that big gold inn is in the corner, you can't mistake whose home you're in. And so it's really cool to have that one touch as well. And because the rest of the design is somewhat minimalist, it really stands out. And I think more than anything, though, as we talk about characteristics of a ground, no place is truly a place without the people. And to have sellout crowds in those first two league matches there, or close to it, I think in the second, the noise gets trapped because the seats are so vertical that there's not a lot of place for it to go. And so there's a wall of sound that emanates throughout the ground. And even supporters who cheered that first goal from the supporter section, I posted a video from the press box and they were stunned at how loud it sounded from that angle, because it just spins around and it swirls and it gets caught. It is going to be a very tough place for teams to come in and win because it is intense.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. It's always nice to see, such new stadiums, rise in MLS. That's what we want to see. I hope that one day we'll have the opportunity to experience this here in Montreal, to get a new stadium, maybe, or a renewed stadium, if not a completely new one. Now, Wes, can you tell us a bit more about? You have a few CF Montreal ex-players like Daniel Lovitz and Eric Miller. I know that last year they played a big role. How are they doing this year?
Yeah, so I'll start with Eric. He's played a little bit less here of late, but has always been that depth locker room guy. And you guys know him from Montreal, who's just going to always be supportive and build a strong culture. But Nashville relied on him early in the season as a right back and a four-man back line to start the year, as they ran a kind of a 4-3-3 flat. So Eric did exactly what he was supposed to do, a bit of a stay-at-home right back who knew his role. And when Eric comes in, what you're going to get from him. And it's rarely going to be, he's not going to score a brace, but he's going to come in and he's going to give you 90 hard minutes and make it tough on the opponent. And to start the season in Seattle, in Minnesota, that's what you needed, right? You knew you weren't going to win that one 4-3. You needed to win it 1-0, which Nashville did in Seattle, or draw 1-1, which was a great result in Minnesota in basically a lake that was that pitch. It was rained hard. So Eric has been a very stable member of that back line when he's been called upon. Dan has had a couple of one small knock earlier in the year. Beyond that, he continues to be the starting left back, and his challenge has been that Alex Muyl is now the right wing back. And Alex is a converted, winger moving back. So he's got some of those same attacking instincts. Yeah. Well, Dan is so good at providing service, but he also is good at reading the game and understands that he can't maraud forward when Alex is doing the same. You have to have that balance, right? So he's taken a back seat in some matches to Alex when Alex has gotten high up the pitch. You saw in Houston, the opposite happened. And a lot of what Nashville did worked through the left side through Dan. He was second in the team last year in chances created. This year, he's a little bit further back in chances created per 90. Even when you factor in the games he's missed, go per 90. He's not quite creating as many, but the quality of the service has been good. I think he had 3 key passes in the RSL win. I think he's coming back into form after having a couple of downer games where I think he may still have been recovering from that injury.
Yeah, and it's he understands a bit the game a bit more too, because he is also a converted wingback, right? Because he started his career as a winger too.
Yep.
I love it. Now, can you tell us a bit more about your new DP, Ake Arnaud Loba? What can we expect from him? Is he as good as Hani Mukhtar, or not there yet?
Not there yet on the pitch for sure. He's got great skills, but he comes in at a $6.8 million price tag, and he hasn't yet gotten to the point where you can say that he's justified that price tag just yet. But I think there's still a lot of optimism around him. The raw talent is undoubtedly there. His challenge really has been just finding enough consistency to justify getting consistent minutes on the pitch. He has primarily been backup. He actually has come into every match this year, but has not started a match except for in U.S. Open Cup play. But when Nashville got home, he really started to show some energy and some promise. He had a really strong turn against that Philadelphia midfield press that created a chance, had a near miss on a shot in that game too. I think he's showing a little more promise. He is not yet at the point where you would expect, or probably where he would expect, a $6.8 million signing to be. But it's not a case where the club has written him off or given up on that. They know there will be minutes to be had. There's going to be a need to rotate. But as of now, with somebody like Ethan Zubak, who came over from LA playing well and scoring the game-winning goal in the U.S. Open Cup, he's got competition even for that number 2 or number 3 spot. And Teal Bunbury's in the mix when he's healthy as well. And so, yeah, he's not the leader of the line that you might want to see from a DP yet, but I think the skill is there, and there's certainly potential for him to become that.
Perfect. Let's hope that it doesn't start next game. Now we talked about previous CF Montreal players playing in Nashville. We have a previous Nashville player playing in Montreal with Alistair Johnston, who just scored his first goal for CF Montreal last time around. How is his departure seen in Nashville now that we are more than a quarter of the season in, and seeing how much he's grown in the last few games? He's taken, he's very, very much into the collective right now in Montreal. He's a big piece of Wilfred Nancy's system now.
He was beloved in Nashville. He was, as many veterans as there are on the team that really formed the heart and the backbone of the team. Alistair was, in some ways the face of the team to fans who were just coming into it, or, he was beloved because of his spirit and his zeal and that youth. And that youth could really flourish in Nashville because he was surrounded by so many veterans to keep him grounded and support him, as is the case, of course, in Montreal in some cases, but how is his departure seen? I think, quite frankly, fans probably miss what he contributed on the pitch. As good as Alex Muyl has been, the stated point of Alistair being traded was to quote unquote upgrade the attacking ability from that position. And I think that move has still yet to be made, and we'll see what happens there. I'm not sure if that's a move that happens this year or in the future. Certainly have the GAM now to go do something like that. But when you see Alistair then go and put in 4 assists and score a goal in Montreal, I think it's definitely, ironic and kind of funny, but happy to see him do that. And you will not hear a Nashville SC fan say a negative word about Alistair Johnston. And you know how soccer fans can be. Anybody's going to find something to complain about, but not Alistair. He really is appreciated and will always, even though we only played here 2 years, those were the foundational 2 years of this club, right? And so he will always be seen as an original boy in gold. And a lot of people, including myself here in Nashville, always watching the highlights to see how he's playing a role in that team. Was talking with Eve, actually. We interviewed her for our show here about an hour ago, and was asking her, are you taking good care of him up there? Clearly on the pitch, that's the case. And it sounds like off the pitch as well. So miss Alistair. I think the ultimate long-term answer is going to be good for Nashville at that position. They'll find somebody who fits what they want. And certainly they got a price they probably couldn't refuse from Montreal for that. Really good value. But he will always be appreciated and loved for what he did here in Nashville.
So if he scores the goal in Geodis Park at the 91st minute, everybody will still love him, right?
They will hate him for about 3 more minutes.
Okay.
And then they'll love him again.
Yeah, that's
love it. And I was talking with Gary Smith, and I said, "Will you take a chance to chat with Alistair?" He said, "Oh, if I'm able to see him, I would love to." It's one of those situations where you send a player on, and the other team always wonders, like, is there a secret here? Was he a bad locker room guy? not here. Everybody likes him. Everybody appreciates him on the pitch, on the team as well. And I think he will, whether or not he scores a winner, and we all hope in Nashville he doesn't, he will be welcomed and greeted with open arms. 4 goals or 4 own goals, either way, he'll be appreciated here when he comes back.
Oh no, that's great though. I think I think he's just as appreciated in Montreal as I was telling you earlier as he is in Nashville. So I hope it continues for sure. But speaking of obviously our match in 2 days here, Nashville had a really busy week last week. You had the dramatic Open Cup win over Atlanta, which played out to 120 minutes with added time. Then you had that really difficult road trip to Houston, which was unfortunately a 2-0 loss to Houston. Do you have any concern of fatigue impacting the squad? And do you foresee any rotation maybe implemented by Gary Smith?
Yeah, you're going to have some degree of rotation in this congested period. 6 games in 18 days. It has been a real grind. And then what is frustrating, I think, for a lot of Nashville SC supporters is that they should have won in regular time against Atlanta. And there was an offside call that, if you haven't seen
it's controversial.
I'm not one to criticize officials much. It was one of those where, like, I don't even know what he was seeing there. I don't even, and that would have put Nashville ahead 3-2. Assuming they hold on at that point, you're saving 30 minutes of legs. And then Nashville goes down to Houston, 3 days later, and they look like they played 120 minutes, and they're in 90-degree, Fahrenheit. That'd be really hot in Celsius heat, 30 degree heat or more in humidity, and they just had a hard time keeping those legs. So I don't know exactly what things look like Wednesday, but I certainly would expect some rotation. The fortunate thing for Nashville is, Walker Zimmerman did not start against Houston, came on late. Hany Mukhtar didn't start against Houston, came on in the second half. So you would think, just based on that logic then, that the opposite may be true against Montreal. But it's hard to know with the crystal ball, because then Nashville has a match again Saturday against Atlanta, and then the following Wednesday or Tuesday potentially in the U.S. Open Cup. So some rotation, sure. What that means, I don't exactly know, except that I would guess we don't see Hany and Walker probably sit 2 games in a row to start the match, but that would just be speculation.
Yeah, I know, of course, unless they're carrying a knock or a lot of fatigue or something. Yeah. So like you kind of mentioned, we should expect Hany Mukhtar to start. It was kind of a red herring, I guess, for Montreal fans when he was on the bench in Houston. Fair enough.
Yeah, he has been so productive, and he doesn't have the goal numbers this year they did last just yet, but the expected goal numbers are just right up there with what he did last year. So I think fans are expecting him to put a few in the back of the net. Still yet to score from open play at home. He had a PK against Atlanta in the U.S. Open Cup, but that was it. So a lot of excitement and optimism, and hopefully he can get off the mark on Wednesday. Hopefully for us over here. That's all that face, Eve.
Yeah, no, thank you. So just a last question kind of to wrap up with you, because it's a question we always like to ask our guests when they join us. And I'm sure it's a question we've asked of you before, because of course this is not your first time on The Ball Is Round. But speaking to the 2022 edition of our respective teams, which CF Montreal player would you sign in a heartbeat for Nashville this year?
So I'm sure a lot of people are going to say Georgi Mihailovic, and certainly I could add my name to that list. And I was already working through my head even today, like, where would he fit on this team? Could you run like a 4-4-2 and put him in next to, like, put Hany up top, put Georgi in it like a playmaker? It would be so much fun. But I'm not going to say that because it feels cliche. He's just been so outstanding. I really like Kamal Miller, and I really like the growth that he has shown. And his ability to be versatile in a back three, which of course is what Nashville plays, I think he would be a great fit. Now, I can't imagine replacing either Walker, Zimmerman, or Dave Romney. Dave's started every match he's been healthy in the history of this club. And certainly Walker, 2-time defender of the year. Jack Mayer's coming on strong at right center back as well. But a guy like Kamal Miller, you make a place for somebody like him. And the growth he's shown, I respected him 2 years ago in Orlando. He goes to Montreal last year, starts really playing his way into beyond just a confident, into a decisive killer back there. And the job that he did for Team Canada surely only increased that confidence. So I will say that Nashville brings in another right-sided, or is he right or left? He could be both.
He's
right?
left.
Left,
He's
He's left. I'm sorry. Brings in another member of a back three that is a member of the Canadian national team, just for old time's sake for Alistair. we'll bring in Kamal. But the beauty of it is it's a hard decision, right? Like with the way Georgie's playing. Of course, you might have expected me to say Alistair. Just bring him back. We know he fits. So I think there are a lot of good options, and there's a lot of respect here in Nashville for what is happening in Montreal. And I know, because I can relate, that Montreal may often feel overlooked by the the MLS media and intelligentsia, because that's how we feel in Nashville. I think those days might be ending. It sounds like Montreal's attracting a lot of well-deserved attention, and I've really enjoyed following the club this year.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Awesome. And we enjoyed having you on, Wes. It was a pleasure as usual.
Thank you, guys. I just finished my last Canadian beer that I brought down from my last trip up to Quebec, so I guess I have to come up and get more.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Next time you come, tell us, eh?
I will do it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Welcome anytime. No, absolutely. There's always beer here for you. Trust me.
Oh, yeah.
Well, same here in Nashville. Wish you guys were coming down. Midweek games are hard, but here soon. Come on down to Nashville and we'll hang out.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Sure.
There's even a curling bar down the street from my house now, so you'll feel right at home.
Yeah.
I don't like curling. I don't follow
good.
curling.
Okay,
I can see my mom maybe. I think she watches that sometimes.
There you go. Come on down.
Wes,
Yeah.
just before we let you go,
Yeah.
if you can just tell our listeners where they can find you if they want to follow you on social media, or just look at your work, man.
Yeah, you can give me a follow at Wes Boling TN. It's Boling, like the sport without the W. Wes Boling TN. And I host the Club and Country podcast. My buddy Tim has a website and a Twitter handle at Club Country USA, where you can find that. And you can also find it on all of your favorite podcast platforms. And feel free to give a listen. We have a great guest this week. She did a really good job, Eve. It was great to get her tactical insight. Very, very thorough, excellent interview. So be sure to give that a listen.
Nice.
Thank you, Wes.
So thank you very much, Wes. It was a pleasure to have you on again, man.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Alrighty.
Yeah,
Take care, Wes.
Take care, man.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Wes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna say it again. We're so spoiled.
Yeah, we say it every time, eh?
We are spoiled.
I have
We
to
are.
say it. It feels like it has to come out because we're so lucky. We're so spoiled with our guests, guys. Oh my god.
I know. No, Wes is excellent, and well, as long as he wants to come on the show every time we play Nashville, I want to have him back. So it's all good for me.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a
yes.
friend of the show now, right?
Yeah,
we do
absolutely.
have quite a few friends of the show from other MLS clubs, so they're always welcome to join us whenever we have a game. A game in MLS for sure.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So, guys, we had a game this weekend, though, and we have to jump into it because it was a really interesting one to analyze, to review, and I think we need to jump right into it right now. So it was the Charlotte game. Montreal was coming into this game riding a 9-game all-competition undefeated streak. 8-game going in for 9, I'm sorry. But Charlotte was no slouch at home, as they had won every home game except the inaugural one against LA Galaxy. Charlotte manager Miguel Ramirez was extremely complimentary of Wilfred Nancy going into this game, saying in the press that Montreal is the team he likes the most in MLS, that the team has a very clear identity, and he added that good coaching by Nancy has made Montreal a multi-dimensional team. For Wilfred Nancy, he had, barring all the long-term absentees, only Joel Waterman unavailable due to suspension. So Wilfred Nancy went with his usual lineup, with Sebastian Breza in goal. From right to left in defense, Alistair Johnston, Gabriele Corbo, Rudy Camacho, Kamal Miller, and Lassi Lapalainen. In midfield, we had Victor Wanyama, Mathieu Chouanière, and Georgi Mihailovic, and up front, Romel Kyoto and Joaquin Torres. Guys, your thoughts on the 11?
No big surprises for me. I know that there was a bit of debate about whether or not Alistair Johnston was going to be fit after he picked up a knock. And some people as well were debating perhaps he would slot in at right center back in Joel Waterman's absence. But in hindsight, then you kind of be playing, Alistair Johnston a little bit out of the position that he's become used to. And then putting in, ostensibly Zachary Broguiard to start at right wing back, which I'm sure he would have done a fine job at. but why not give Gabriela Corbo, particularly as you know, Bologna had just sent their envoy into Montreal over the past weekend, so why not give Gabriela Corbo some minutes?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised to see Mathieu Chouanière next to Wanyama. I thought that maybe Kone would get the start again, or maybe Samuel Piet would slot in, because you're playing away at a stadium where you have massive support, a team that has won 4 of their last 5 games at home. Maybe put in a more defensive-minded midfielder. But you know what? He chose Mathieu Chouanière, and I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about it a bit later. And it was completely the right choice. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I actually wasn't
surprised.
that surprised, to be honest with you, because of the way Wilfried Nancy, he doesn't want to play. I think if you had both Sam Piet and Victor Wanyama in, I think, you'd be pushing Wanyama further out from the position where he's his most comfortable and where he plays his best. And I think, Sam Piet has shown some more vision for sure in the match that we've seen from him this season, but it's a small sample size. And I think Wilfried Nancy wants to make sure that he has extra offensive thrust in his game. So for me, it made a lot of sense to see either a Kone or a Chouanière. And I thought Chouanière did enough for sure in his first match to earn the start.
I think so, and that was kind of the debate. Was Kone gonna go right back to the starting 11 like he had been for quite a while before his suspension? But no, he went with Chouanière, and I really didn't hate that decision, because I think Kone had been trending in the right direction for a while, but his performances were dipping since just before his suspension. And it's still so young, so many things to learn, and I think just going back to a rotation role, a little bit less pressure, you get the chance to learn a bit of the game when you're on the bench, and to learn your opposition too, because now you're sitting and you look at the tendencies of your opposition, you understand how they play. Well, if you're paying attention, but that's what you expect from your subs, right? So when he comes into the pitch, he's very, very involved, and he understands right away what's up. So no, I liked it. So guys, it started early, a bit hard for Montreal, as Breza got a knee in the face and stayed down, but passed concussion protocol and stayed in the game. For me, the first 15 minutes felt like 2 boxers that were studying themselves in the earlier rounds, but eventually Romel Kyoto was sent free and forced a good save of Kalina, but the Honduran was flagged offside. Guys, this particular play where either Kyoto, either Johnston, either Lapalainen are isolated on the wing and they get a through ball, it's starting to become something that's very recurrent in Montreal's play, and they're finding a lot of success with it, right?
Yeah, it's definitely developing into a lot of interesting chances. I mean, this is far from the first time we've seen a player go basically one-on-one with a defender or a one-on-one with a keeper this season. And we even saw it at other points during the same match in Charlotte. So no, you're correct. That's definitely that through ball or possibly even the ball over the top is proving to be really productive, and it's much better than just hoof it down the field and pray, as we kind of saw in earlier editions of Montreal. So always happy to see a little bit more depth added to that tactic.
Yeah, and you don't have Dal Maduro anymore, who's Speedy Gonzalez, right? So that you can't play that way anymore, right?
Oh my gosh! Speaking of, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Hady. Did you see he met up with the team?
Yeah, he was in Charlotte to see them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my little heart was so warm.
Now, I like the way Montreal is playing this year. We've seen, a few more tweaks that happened, between this year and last season that I really like. We're playing out from the back, but we're not only playing from the back. Sometimes we are, playing long balls, which is really good. Those through balls, we've seen that a lot this year. And all credit goes to Kyoto, because we look at the stats sheet from Romel Kyoto, and it doesn't look very promising, right? You don't see him scoring as many goals as last year. You don't see him getting a lot of assists either. But those runs, those deep runs that he makes, open up space so much, and he's been so important and a big part, an integral part of the successes of the team this year. And let's not downplay his importance in that starting 11. He is very, very important. And one last thing, because I know that you talked about the first 15 minutes being a boxing tournament, a boxing game between the two teams. You're completely right. I completely agree with you. There's just one guy that really stood up for me, and that was really outstanding in the first 15 minutes of the game, and it was Mathieu Choinière. I think that he opened up the play quite a few times. He was the only bright spot in Montreal, I think. He popped out, like completely popped out during the first 15 minutes of the game, and until he came out and he was substituted, he was very, very, very good in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he definitely was, and without being really critical of his game at Saputo last week, I kind of found that, I talked about it. He had these wing back vibes sometimes when he was playing in the center of the pitch, not being aware of what was happening in his back, and not having that 360 vision while playing. But there was nothing of that against Charlotte. He was into his central midfield vibe, and he did very, very well in my opinion. So absolutely right, Hady. Moving on, in the 21st minute, following a corner, the ball eventually fell to Torres, who hit a sweet volley just wide of the post of Kelina's left. So like we were saying, the first 20 minutes was more studying. Hady, you said that you really like Mathieu Choinière's contribution. Yves, what stood out to you in these first 20 minutes?
Honestly, I felt like it was really choppy. I felt kind of that I guess, as you said, no team was really gonna take a big risk and push the envelope. And perhaps that early knock to Sebastian Breza was kind of weighing in people's minds, and that he had to go through concussion protocol and everything. But it felt like neither team was willing to kind of budge and willing to step out of their comfort zone with what they had set up tactically, to try and provoke perhaps a mistake from the opposition or to create something. And I kind of felt like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be one of those games where it's decided on like one moment of individual brilliance, isn't it? And obviously it wound up shaking out a little different as the match went on.
Mm-hmm. And a bright point of this first half was the connection down the right between Alistair Johnston and Joaquin Torres, and both combined once again in the 36th minute. And after a very good turn by the Argentine, he took a good shot that sailed over the bar. For me, it was a bit of an unlikely connection between the two, but one that gave Charlotte a lot of troubles, guys. Did you see the same thing as I did?
Yes. No, yeah, absolutely. We saw it on more than one occasion. Kind of on one occasion, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, that came off. Great, good for you. But I noticed, Alistair Johnston was trying really hard to either overlap or underlap when Joaquin Torres had the ball and offer him, a more deep-lying option, and vice versa. So, I don't know how well their communication works out. I don't know how well they speak to each other, but it seemed as though, like, in the body language, each one wanted to offer a solution to the other, which is good to see. I really like to see that teamwork.
Yeah, and you know what? There's something that, when I did the interview on Alistair Johnston last, article that I wrote on Quebec Soccer, and I talked to his former coach, Bobby Muse, and I also talked to a former teammate. And everybody that I talked to told me exactly the same thing. Alistair Johnston has a very, very high soccer IQ. And I think that whoever plays with him is going to benefit from his soccer IQ. Yeah. Now, maybe at the beginning of the season, it didn't happen that much because he wasn't used yet to the system of Wilfried Nancy. And you know what? Wilfried Nancy talked about it in a press conference. And he said, I asked Alistair to play a different game than what he was used to. And as you can see, Alistair Johnston cuts a lot in the middle of the pitch. That's something that he didn't used to do before. And that's why he scored a goal. And we're going to talk about it a bit later. So that extra amount of work that he had to do, it took him only, 10 games to really learn. Yeah, I know. And now he's striving. And he's not only striving himself, but he's making the others look very good. So for me, it all comes down to a very good Alistair Johnson, and of course a good Joaquin Torres that's on form right now. And we've been wanting to see a Torres that's on form, and right now he's finding his form. So that's all benefits for us.
Absolutely. A minute later, Andrei Shinyashiki caught Montreal's defense sleeping and took a wicked shot that hit the bar. It was a bit of an off moment for Montreal's backline, but how did you think they played in that first half, the three center backs?
Overall, I felt like Gabriel Corbo had slotted in really well, and he made a couple of really important blocks, over the course of the game that were probably game-changing, really, for Montreal. So overall, I honestly enjoyed his performance. I didn't feel like Joel Waterman was missing. I didn't feel like it was a downgrade at the position being subbed in for him. So overall, I appreciated what Gabriela Corbo brought.
Yeah, and let's not forget that Andrei Shinyashiki is the rookie of the year in 2019, right? He's not someone that's like, he's a talented player, very talented player. So I don't think that you can blame the center backs on that on that particular play. And I agree with Yves. They had a very good game overall, not only the first half. I think the defense was pretty on point, and a very, very, very good game of Gabriel Corbo for me. And we'll talk about it a bit later, but he's been pretty good.
Yeah, one thing that I look at a lot for center backs in particular is just the general body language and how many times they have to lunge or throw themselves on the ground to try to block shots, and we didn't see any of that. Everyone was always really well placed. It's as if the game was going really slowly in front of them, so they didn't have to like rush on the left, rush on the right, try to get in front of a shot. They were always pretty steady, pretty cool, pretty well placed, and that's a sign that your defense is playing well, because it is spectacular to see a last ditch tackle or last ditch block shot, but it often means that you weren't exactly in the right place too. So didn't see anything of that. And I know Rudy Camacho was talking this week about, like, I think it was after the game, was saying that he doesn't feel his vibes of last year yet. He wants to get them back, but he feels that he could contribute a bit more. I was listening to him and I was saying, what, if you don't have to contribute as much as you did last year, is maybe because overall the shape and the system surrounding defense is much better than it was. Because last year we saw Camacho block like 5, 6, 7 shots a game, and yes, it's good, but that's not what you want to see from the center player of your center back. So that was just my take. But Hady, you don't look like you're with me on that. So what's up, man?
I'm not really with you, and the reason behind it is that we conceded a lot of goals this year. Yes, the tactical shape is better offensively,
defensively too.
I'm not really sure about that. We've been conceding a lot of goals and some stupid goals, and
but it's been a minute since that happened.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a minute since Montreal conceded a legitimately ridiculous stupid goal.
But it's only the first clean sheet of the season.
Yeah,
that's not very good. Of course, we're at top of the East, so I'm not complaining or anything. But 19 goals conceded in 11 games. That's not very good. Like, I can't understand why Rudy Camacho is saying that he needs to improve. Now, I'm not, we're winning games. I don't care if we win games 4-3. We need to win games. So that's awesome. But I can't really say that, the defense has been, awesome altogether, because we've been conceding. Now, in this game, I think we did very well. We did very, very well.
Guys, just before halftime, following some quick passing in midfield, Torres sent a beautiful ball out on the left to Kyoto, who crossed for Mihailovic, who tucked it in. Kyoto stayed down and was in real pain, favoring his left shoulder afterwards. Guys, I want to just ask you, how good a goal was this after?
Loved it. Loved the creativity from Joaquin Torres with that flick over to Kyoto, and the awareness of Mihailovic to continue the run, knowing that Kyoto had been pulled out wide. and he had drawn 2 defenders onto him at that. So it left an ocean of space for Mihailovic to run into the box. And of course, that gave him probably the easiest goal he scored in his entire MLS career, I'd have to say. And it was largely thanks to the hard work of Ramel Kyoto, like you said earlier, Hady. Really, if Kyoto hadn't worked that hard, that goal would never have happened. So great piece of creativity from Torres. Phenomenal work by Kyoto, who sacrificed himself to make the cross, and then great commitment to finish the attacking play by Mihailovic. Overall, all three deserve all the credit.
Yeah, I agree. And, Mihailovic, again, another player with a big soccer IQ, right? And it helps a lot because the run that he makes, you feel that sort of cohesion between Ramel Kyoto and Georgi Mihailovic, and that's what you want to see. The first one knows what to do, and the other one completely understands him and makes the proper run. And that's what's really nice about it. That's the collective mindset that the team has. That's on spot right now. That's going very well.
Yeah,
absolutely. It was not looking too good for Kyoto when it happened, but the good news is that Wilfried Nancy confirmed today that in Kyoto's case, it was more fear than harm. So we didn't get a clear diagnosis or a timeline, but probably won't be too long for Kyoto. So that's a very, very good news. On the play, Kai Kamara replaced him just before halftime. So that brought us to halftime, guys. And I just wanted to hear you on what were your thoughts on the first half. I'll start with you, Hady. Go ahead, man.
Man, I thought that the first half was good. I liked it. I liked the fact, and I asked the question to Georgi Mihailovic during the presser, and I asked him, I felt that Wilfried Nancy's tactic was to have a slower tempo, to play a bit more slower, and to not really, to make sure that the crowd doesn't get behind the home team. He said no, it was a particular a thing that Wilfried Nancy asked of the players. But I felt that way. I felt that we were playing a bit slower, and I thought that it was the good strategy for that game. And I was just afraid that we'd get that that brain fart and get scored on. But no, I think we controlled the tempo in the first half, even more in the second, and we'll talk about that a bit later. But no, pretty good first half in my opinion.
Yeah, not much to complain about. Not a lot of brilliant chances conceded aside from the one that went off the woodwork, and then Sebastian Breza had made another save later on in that half as well. I found it a bit stop-start. Kyoto had to get treatment partway through the half. Of course, we had the concussion protocol for Breza, and then at the end of the half as well, Kyoto, wound up having to leave the pitch, and obviously they did take their time getting him off because they weren't, it looked pretty nasty when they showed the close-up. I was like, oh boy. So I found it a bit stop-start. I found there wasn't a whole lot of rhythm to the half. It definitely, like, if I were to go market soccer as a sport to somebody, I would not be showing them that half. But I mean, it's a road game, so you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I like the fact that Montreal kind of didn't panic when they saw that it wouldn't be a game that would be fast paced and open. Sometimes you had the feeling in the past that we would try to force plays and maybe get in trouble while forcing these plays. We just were content to stick to the game plan and to wait it out. And that, for me, that's a symptom of a team that's feeling that it's a good team, right? So there's no panic. The other team will adjust to us. We're not trying to get into spaces or get into movements that we're not used to. And Charlotte did a very good play, and I want a very good first half, in my opinion, mostly defensively. And I wanted to hear you guys on this. I saw a kind of a strategy of Charlotte that was to close down the middle of the park and pressuring Wanyama and Chouanière into playing fast. Did you see the same thing? And if you did, what was behind that if you're Charlotte's coach?
They definitely pressed on Wanyama a lot. I will give you that for sure. They put all the pressure in the world on Wanyama, but it takes a lot to tear him down. Which is, he's kind of a colossus in that midfield. I think, behind that, obviously, a lot of the important starts of the play usually come from Wanyama, particularly just we haven't seen as much as Chouanière. And so if you prevent them from getting the ball out to a desirable area, to a player who's in good space, to a player who maybe has the opportunity to create something in the attacking half, then all the power to Charlotte. Obviously, if they can reduce Montreal to just possession for the sake of possession, or if they can possibly force a turnover.
Yeah, and to add to that, completely right, Eve, but to add to that too, the way Charlotte plays is they play in transition. They play in counterattacks. So if you put pressure on those two midfielders, you put the defenders right behind them on their back heels, and you can go very fast, and you can score goals. And that's I think that was the right tactic from Ramirez and Charlotte FC. The only difference is that, like Yves said, it's very hard to take the ball from Wanyama. That's very hard. And the second thing, the brilliance of Mathieu Chouanière in midfield. He was able to really make sure that pressure didn't affect him. He played one touch when he needed to, and sometimes he did dribble in the middle of the pitch in order to free up some space, and it worked quite a few times. At one point, he did roulette. I don't know how it's called in English, but he turned on himself at one point. I was like, "Whoa, okay, might just right now," So it's the right tactics from Ramirez, but also the right counter tactics from Wilfried Nancy in a way.
Yeah, and Nancy on his behalf, he told Frédéric Gay of TVA at halftime that he asked his team to continue going forward and that he changed the animation of his team going into the second half. That was some interesting words by the coach. What were you expecting, guys, when you heard that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I was expecting. I unfortunately wasn't watching the game on TVA Sport for a reason, like I don't know why it wasn't working at home. But I noticed that Wilfried Nancy wanted to change things when he removed Chouanière from a bit later. And I felt that he wanted to play a bit more down the wings, more than in the middle of the pitch. And I don't know if you agree with that, Issam, but we've seen a lot more play down the wings, and we've seen a bit more of Lassie in the second half, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. But what I kind of saw, the adjustments seem to be more on the defensive front. Yes, you're right, Hady. We definitely saw more of Lassie in the second half, but Montreal had a kind of a willingness to bring higher number of players in the press, and I don't know if you remember, guys, but at some moment we saw like 4 Montreal players in Charlotte's box pressing. Was that something to do with the quality of Charlotte's center back on the ball? Was it the transition that we were trying to break? What was that? Because I've never seen Montreal use that type of press in a game. It was the first time for me.
No, it was pretty new for me too, and I was a little confused, and I had to double check the scoreline. I was like, did they chalk that off and I missed it? Because especially, having a lead on the road in a stadium where Charlotte has won all of their home games except one, you would think that a smart quote-unquote team would sit back and defend it, but of course we've seen that does not work for Montreal. I don't think it ever has worked well for Montreal. So, there was a period early in the second half where they were suffering a lot. Montreal had to weather a pretty intense early storm around the top of the box from Charlotte, and I think there was one of those moments when a defender had to kind of go to the ground and do a last-ditch block.
It did happen. Yeah.
So I think offense is the best defense.
Montreal's first real opportunity in the second half came in the 50th minute, and it was once again Lassie Lapalainen who found space behind Charlotte's backline, and he tried his classic curl shot to the goalkeeper's left, and he missed the net by a lot. Guys, what was going on here with Lassie?
That's nothing we didn't say last week, I don't think.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have to cut it off from last week's show and just put it back here.
But we've seen Lassie improving. Like
Yeah,
in
yeah,
my
yeah,
opinion, he did improve
Oh,
a lot.
yeah. No, I agree with you completely. I actually rather enjoyed his match versus
Yeah,
Charlotte.
me too.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
know, we did talk last week about the final action that he needs to find a different type of shot to take because he finds himself in so many interesting situations.
You know, I agree with you, Eve, but when you have an offensive player, because in this case he is an offensive player, even if he's playing a left wing back role,
Yep.
that lacks confidence. He
I know.
goes with what he knows best.
I
right?
know.
Yeah.
So that curl
yeah.
shot is what he knows best. He's still missing it, but I kind of understand why he's still, sticking to it. But at one point, he has to understand that, you know what, man, try something new, But I don't want to blame him and throw stones at him because I liked his game in Charlotte.
Yeah, me too.
Mhm.
I think he's
really
really
did.
improved too. And
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
one thing with offense. They usually say that for strikers, but I think it applies for players that get into situations like Lassie on the pitch. Is that if you're getting into goal scoring situations,
Mhm.
eventually it's gonna go in, and that's always what they say with strikers too. Yeah, he's not scoring, but he's getting chances. He's in the right positions. He's touching the ball in the box. So I I kind of think it's a matter of time for Lassie, and I wouldn't be surprised. I know this is gonna sound like a hot take because the narrative around Lassie these days is pretty negative, but I kind of feel like when he's gonna score his first, he's gonna get a few more.
Mhm.
So it's just a matter of just getting that confidence because you have the feeling it's almost like, yeah, I'm gonna make the run, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, but now, oh shit, I'm in front of a goal now. I need to finish it, and it's not happening at the moment.
Lack of confidence, but you know
Yeah.
what? Wilfried Nassi said, he's been scoring a lot in trainings, like really, really a lot.
Mhm.
It's like at one point it's gonna open up because
Oh, yeah.
like he's been very good in front of goal in training. So
Mhm.
let's hope it happens very soon. Maybe why not in Nashville?
Oh, why not? He's gonna
It's a
get the start too. So
Tall order.
yeah. Wilfred Nassi proceeded to make his second round of substitutions in the 64th minute as he took off Mathieu Chouanière and Joaquin Torres, and he brought on Ismael Kone and Samuel Piet. What was the idea behind these subs, guys?
As
You wanna go
simple
first?
as just play on the wing.
Yeah.
Play on the
Mhm.
wings.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As simple
And
as that.
also keep some folks in shape because there's a midweek game coming.
I had that in mind too. So that's interesting because now you have that depth on the bench in which you can change the tactical approach and go for for
Mhm.
spreading the minutes around. So that's a good thing. I saw exactly that.
Yeah.
And
And Torres was on a yellow card.
yes, and he
He
was
picked up his
talking to Silvio a lot. So I think it
Yes,
was a
he
good
was
time to-
feisty.
yeah, he was red in that. So whatever the idea was, because we're not in Wilfred Nassi's head, it paid off right away. As a minute later, Camara held the ball up well and angled it wide to Johnston on the right, and he took a perfect shot and beat Kalina to his right. Guys, it was a brilliant goal. For me, Johnston was literally everywhere. Do you guys think it has anything to do with the healthy competition with ZBG?
No, I think he's just as good as that. He's
Mhm.
you remember I think last year I said that Asa Johnston is one of the players that should go to Europe very soon,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
Yeah.
for me this guy is just has proven how good he is
Mhm.
and how little time it takes for him to adapt to a new system and for a new environment.
Mhm.
This guy is I don't know. He Europe has to take a look at this guy because he's very close to be at the level. Of course, he's not going to be a starter in Real Madrid. That's not what I'm saying. But he's able to be a rotation player in any big five in the big five leagues in Europe. Maybe not the top clubs,
Yeah.
but maybe a mid-table or bottom table clubs. He can be a rotational player very, very easily, in my opinion.
No, I thought that was probably, with or without the goal, I thought that was probably his best match for Montreal to date.
Yeah, oh yeah, most definitely. And his inclusion in the team of the week 11 kind of resonates with that. But yeah, he was very good. Part of it
Wilfred
is
Nancy got shafted though by that.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
No, 100%, 100%.
Mhm.
Guys, 75 minutes in, Nasi proceeded to another double sub, this time taking off Lassie for Basong and Mihailovic for Miljevic. I didn't see much of a tactical change in that. It looked
No.
very like for me. So I guess it has something to do with the congested schedule.
Yeah, Mihailovic was definitely limping towards
Yeah.
the end of his time. He had picked up a foul, and the player had gotten a yellow card for kind of like stepping on the back of his heel, like on his Achilles area. So definitely want to make sure that he's not in any discomfort. Because he is so crucial to this team's success. So I think it was really important, especially with the 2-goal lead, to make sure that no further harm comes to him, because he does get beaten up quite a bit during the course of a game.
Yeah, and I just want to add also that for me, these substitutions were really made for, to keep those players fresh. I don't think that the first substitutions were for this, just to rest, Mathieu Chouanière and who was the second
Torres.
one? Torres. But I think that this the other set of substitutions was to rest, Georgie and
Lassie.
Wow. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the reason why. Now, there's something that I really thought that should happen and didn't happen. Isaac Johnson not getting a rest for me was a bit weird. Yes, he was having a great game, but you need him in Nashville, and I just hope that we're not going to see him on the bench in Nashville, because that would really be tough for the former player in Nashville.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I'm sure Wilfred Nancy has to know that that's important. I'm sure he has to know. I'd be shocked.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's something we'll have to look at, because you look at Joel Waterman's going to come back. Corbo did very well. ZBG played a fantastic game at Saputo last time out. So I mean, it's everyone kind of merits minutes right now. So it's gonna be interesting how he's gonna manage that. But we'll have to see. Guys, in the final minutes of the game, Charlotte was putting a lot of pressure on Montreal, but without really looking particularly dangerous for me. How much was it on Montreal's good defending, or was it just Charlotte not being sharp enough?
Somewhere in between. Honestly, I'm like, it's somewhere in the middle. I mean, some of the shots that Charlotte took were so speculative and so wild that I was kind of like, guys. But at the same time, a lot of credit has to be given to Montreal to not allow Charlotte the opportunity to shape up a really nice appetizing shot, or to put Sebastian Breza under a lot of pressure. He only had to make 2 saves in the match. So it's kind of a little of column A, a little of column B, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I agree with Eve. Nothing to add.
So out. All in all, it was a very good win on the road, guys. That extends our unbeaten streak to 9 all competitions, 8 in MLS. So after the game, how was you all feeling?
Pinch me, I'm dreaming.
Yeah, I was feeling the same.
Also very hot. It was really, really hot.
Yeah, no, it's exciting because Montreal is playing very different teams. Very different kind of teams, and they play completely differently and still able to come out on top. And it feels like Montreal put up with the rain and just got themselves a rainbow now. They're just on top of everything. They're just it's funny. I don't want to be too ecstatic and too, I don't want to party right now, but I really feel like it's, it's very exciting.
It's all coming together. Times.
Yeah, but
exciting times. Yeah.
but I continue to think that adjustments were made, and if anyone from the club comes out and says, you know what, this is how we played from day one of the season. It just took time for the process to kick in. No, I don't think so. I think there was a lot of adjustments that were made in the way of thinking the football of the club and the way of playing it too, and but it's paid off. So shout out. It comes from the coaching staff, and they did a good job to adjust because it's not the same way of playing at all since that we saw in the opening games of the season as. And that we're playing right now, so that's part of it. You have to get your adjustments right, and they did. So shout out to them. I guess I wanted to ask you, how did you like Gabriel Corbo? It was his first game since March the 12th.
Very good, very good. He kept it simple at
Yep.
first, and then he grew into the game. He showed a bit of confidence at one point,
Yep.
but I think that's the proper way to come into and to come back into a winning squad. You just low profile, just do
Yeah.
your job,
Yeah.
just
Yep.
don't try to overdo it, and that's exactly what he did. For such a young player to be able to keep be level-headed and be as consistent as he was during that game, hats off.
Yep.
Hady, you were at the presser. How was Coach Nasi feeling after the win, and what did he have to say to you guys?
Oh man, he was very happy. Like,
Of course.
like really, really happy. Like he was so relaxed. And he was so he was having fun. Good day for Wilfred Nasi. But also he was, he was always saying, trying to keep the players, very concentrated and not not have the big head and everything. He said a few things like try to continue on working because there are some things that are not being done very well still, but he also was very, very, very happy of his players. He congratulated them a few times. He said that yes, we're on a great streak, and all the merit comes to the players, and they take a lot of pleasure and they follow all the game plans. And you know what? That seems like a club that's going into the right direction, and there seems to have some sort of a great understanding between the coaching staff and the players. That's very rare into modern sports right now, not only in soccer but in all sports. It's very rare to find that sort of cohesion between everybody, and you feel that during the pressers, you feel that on the pitch, and not only the pressers of Wilfried Nasi, but it's also the pressers of the players. It's really, and then, it's really like apparent, right? So I like that, and the only the only thing that he said that was really nice, he said that he's very happy to have won by more than one goal. And you know what? I find that very interesting, because at one point he said that we needed to have the killer instinct, and it feels like he was happy because scoring that second goal proved that the team is still growing and it's still moving forward and it's still learning new stuff, and I think that's very positive too.
And which players were made available for the media, and did anything noteworthy came out of their pressers?
At first, it was supposed to be Georgi Mihailovic and Alistair Johnston, and it was changed to Georgi Mihailovic and Rudy Camacho. So Georgi Mihailovic started, also very, very, very happy. He said that he needs to take care of playing every 3 days. They're going to need to take care of their bodies a bit more. So, but he said he was okay. He was feeling well. He was feeling okay. Nothing to be alarmed of. When he was limping. So that's, I think, don't worry about that. And then, I told you guys a bit earlier when I asked him about, the slower tempo and everything. Yeah. And he was like, no, we didn't really slow the tempo. But you know what? You live as a professional footballer, you live to play those games with great atmospheres like we had in Charlotte. And he's like, we changed a few things in our shape, but we're still playing the same way. So it's funny because it kind of answers what you said a bit earlier, Sam, when you said that things have changed,
Yeah.
but it's still the same mindset. It's still possession based. It's still offensive football. So the presets are still here, right? So that's pretty nice. And him and Rudy Camacho said exactly the same thing, as saying that we are a group of players and there's 18, 20 players that are completely involved and they play together all the time. So first of all, Mihailovic said everybody's bringing, something to the table. And then Rudy Camacho said, because that was one of my questions, asking him, how do you feel, how did you adjust? Having to adjust to Gabriel Corbo coming into the starting 11. Was it hard? Was it difficult? And everything? And he's like, no. I play with him during training quite a lot, and it's pretty easy now because we know each other. We know he knows how to play, and I know how to play with him. So that sort of unity in the dressing room and on the pitch is pretty apparent. So it's kind of very, very exciting.
Yeah, most definitely. So it was a great win, and man, good vibes around Montreal, guys. We got a tweet from Tate, our friend Tate Brooks. I think you have it, Hady.
Yeah, I have it. I have it. Won't be too long. And that was the question. Did I have it? Oh, I forgot to put it. I can give you 2 seconds.
So sorry, Tate. That's okay.
I'll be. It just takes 2 seconds, Tate.
So he asked
you
us,
can start to read it if you want to.
Yeah, I'll read it out. He says, "What's your attendance prediction for Sunday's game against RSL? Is the over under 17,000? So, guys, over or under? There you go, 17,000.
So I actually looked when Tate had said this. I actually looked on the team's website because I'm that weirdo and I don my tinfoil hat for time and I do that. And it's still early, and like if I were looking at the weather today, I would not have tickets to a soccer game because the weather is just right now. And actually it looked like there were fewer tickets available than there had been at this point for previous matches. For what that's worth, take it with a big grain of salt because it may well be that the team just hasn't kind of released all of the tickets yet. Like we saw, a couple of games where it looked like certain sections were sold out, but they actually weren't, for example. I still think under. I think better than the previous match at home, but I think still under 17.
Hady.
No, I'd say over.
Oh.
I'd say over. It all depends on the weather. That's the only thing. And looking at right now the weather report, it seems like it's raining on Sunday, so it's got to be under if it does rain. But in Montreal, everything changes by the minute, right? So if it's sunny, I would say over. If not, under. It's just as simple as that in Montreal.
Well, and it's a long weekend as well, and the match is on a Sunday instead of a Saturday. So like those are weird factors, and I don't know how else to call them other than weird factors. They win.
So Robbie says if they win Wednesday and the weather is good, over. Okay, you're more optimistic than I am. I would go with slightly under, like maybe 16K, but not 17, just because it's turned around 14 since the start of the year, and I don't expect us to like jump of 3, 4, or 5,000 fans right away, but it's definitely trending in the right direction, and I do think that we will sell out a few times this year, and it won't be because Zlatan is coming to the stadium or whatever. It's just gonna be because the team is doing well and people are interested to go sit at the stadium and watch them play. But I don't think we're there yet. It's gonna be more. If we continue trending in this type of direction, I think we're gonna see it more at the end of June, at the start of July. We're gonna maybe sell out, or
Like
definitely
when
over
it's
17K.
kind of summer vacation.
Exactly. Yeah, that's gonna help too. So, thanks for your question, but I'm under. Sorry, man.
We'll
So,
see.
guys, yeah, we'll move on, guys. There was news coming out this week that number 12 is returned to the fans, and that was the tweet by Montreal. For those who are watching us on live, CF Montreal to give number 12 back to its fans. In the next few days, there will be a few things that will go around that 12 team, and there will be a 12% rebate on tickets, and members will be able to buy extra tickets for only $12. There's going to be a presentation made on May 22nd, the day of our game against RSL. Guys, I just want to have your thoughts, but I want to have your thoughts also on why did the club just randomly give number 12 to Mustafa Kiza back then?
I think it just speaks to how disconnected the previous administration was from the culture in Montreal, from supporter culture, from soccer culture. It was super tone deaf, straight up.
I think it was a change of strategy, marketing wise, and they just wanted to disconnect from what was done earlier, and they did that in quite a few on quite a few aspects. I don't. I didn't mind them, giving the 12 to Kiza, but I'm kind of, knowing, what happened afterwards, and knowing, the narrative afterwards.
It was kind of like foreshadowing.
Now I feel that's a very, very, very good move from the CF Montreal to bring it back, saying, again, some sort of reconnection with their roots, with the past and everything. I think that's very positive. I love the marketing side of it, with the 12% rebate on tickets and the $12 for members. That's exactly what you need to do. Your best marketers are your season ticket holders.
Yep.
They are your best ambassadors. So yes, please give them rebates, give them discounts, make them, work to bring more people to the stadium and share their love of the game and bring other people to the stadium. That's how it works. This is the way to go. So I love it. I'm in love with it.
Same. Yeah. I was feeling how you felt, Eve, when they did give number 12 to Kiza. I was like, man, it's not how it works, that was for the fans, and I found it awkward a bit, and just the signification of a number. I don't know, guys, if you remember when Rudy Camacho took number 4, and some people were like, oh, but did he ask Nick DeSantis? Because no one had really wore it since Nick DeSantis. So there's something about numbers in this club, and 12 was always for the fans. And that Kiza thing was a bit awkward for me. It was a mistake, but very happy that they quickly repaired their mistake, and not only repaired it, but now they're promoting it in a positive way and reconnecting. So that's good. It's just bringing back all the good vibes, and you have the feeling that there's really an effort put by the club. So you're allowed to make mistakes, but if you do it, identify it as a mistake, you need to correct it, and that's what they're doing. So that's good, man. It's really good. I guess just a little word on CSMRO, Club de Soccer Mont-Royal Outremont's loss to Forge in the Canadian Championship. So last year's PLSQ champion CSMRO drew Forge in the first round of the Canadian Championship, and they had to make the trip all the way to Hamilton for the game. Honestly, guys, they really put in a valiant effort for me, but in the end, you saw the difference in quality, and Forge were too strong for the semi-pro team from Montreal. Terran Campbell and Quebec native Woubens Passius were the goal scorers, and now Forge will be facing Montreal the 25th of May at Stade Saputo in round 2 of the Canadian Championship.
Yeah, I just wanted a quick word on CSMRO because it's my former club, right? So a quick word to say, congratulations, and Luc Brutus, the coach and the president, has made a very, very big, a lot of work to bring CSMRO to the Canadian Championship. It's their first participation in the Canadian Championship, so they're going to learn from that and come back stronger. I think in the next edition they need to win the PLSQ first, but they're on the right track, and I'm very, very happy for them. And I don't want to name everybody, but I know a lot of people there, and everybody there worked really, really hard to achieve that. So congratulations on that game.
Yep.
Yeah, nothing to be ashamed of, and most of all, how, at some point you were seeing Forge not panicking, but they weren't liking what was going on the pitch, because MR was really in their faces. They were playing a tough game against them. They were very physical. They were, they want to play. They didn't go there just to act active presence, and like I said, in the end, the quality showed, but they have nothing to be ashamed of. They really put in a good performance. Guys, it's time to move on to national team news, and we'll start with rapid fire Canadians in Europe.
Yeah, and let's start with that. So a bit of an intro that I made just
Hady
very quickly, and then
right.
it's up to Eve.
Okay.
Come on, man! It's rapid.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Okay, I find our national anthem really boring, actually. So
really, I love our national anthem. I
like La Marseillaise. Give me that French national anthem where we're talking about going out and killing people and stuff.
So violent, man.
I know. I know. That's the coolest part.
Now, of course, it's Marseille, so it's always cool, right?
Yeah, I was waiting for
there you go.
So, guys, I'll start with the women. Ashley Lawrence scored twice in the Coupe de France final, which PSG won 8-0. Jordan Heidema did not play but received the medal. Nichelle Prince scored her first goal of the season with the Houston Dash in a 1-1 draw. Chloé Lacasse scored in Benfica's 2-1 win over Famalicão. And Jessie Fleming and Chelsea claimed the FA Cup in front of 49,000 fans. On the men's side, Jonathan David ended his goalless drought with a brace in come from behind win over Lille, 4-0 over OGC Nice. Kyle Larin scored for Besiktas in a 2-0 win at Gozeppe. And Tejan Buchanan and Club Rouge won the Belgian Pro League. So that was the most notable news for our national team players around Europe.
So much silverware.
Yeah, they're touching to all the medals and all the trophies. It's amazing, for real.
Love it.
And another big news for the men national team now is that John Herdman is drawing interest in England. News came out this week, a bit out of nowhere, that Herdman was being closely monitored by English clubs Burnley, QPR, and Blackburn. Blackburn and QPR will be playing League Championship next year in England, which is their second division, while Burnley are still in a relegation battle to keep their status as a Premier League club, but could well be relegated and drop to the Championship. Guys, how credible do you think these rumors are, and is there a real chance that Herdman leaves?
I mean, I can definitely see clubs being interested in him for sure, because he's achieved a lot with Canada. And just in passing, just before we move on, I would like to call out Chan's comment, which is totally correct. Benfica and Chloé Lacasse did, in fact, win the Portuguese League last week. So thank you for that, Chan. But jumping right back into it, I absolutely can understand why. I mean, John Herdman's an Englishman. He cut his teeth coaching in Sunderland's academy. So it doesn't surprise me remotely that teams from that neck of the woods who are looking for new management are looking at him. Especially, he's such a good motivating presence. That's so much of what makes him a great coach. And especially for these teams either who are just getting promoted and they're going to be in the fight for their lives to stay in the league that they got promoted to, or teams who are just getting relegated and they have to deal with that big deflating moment of playing in the lower division the following season. you need somebody there who can amp the guys up and get them excited and make them want to, you know, rise back up, or as it were, you know, overcome their little recently promoted underdog status. So I can absolutely 150,000% understand why teams would be looking at John Herdman for sure.
Yeah, and you know, his results have proved to the world that he is a coach that's worth being noticed, right? And of course, uh, I think if he has some serious contenders, if he has some serious propositions, he would be stupid not to take them, you know, seriously, because you know, going into, even if it's in championship in the second division, you can get a lot of money. You can get a lot of money, and you can start a bright career. So I don't know. It's now, of course, it all depends on the project, right? Like, you know, you look at the teams that are being named, and again, you know, I'm not an expert.
Don't you hate on Burnley? Don't you hate on Burnley?
You look at the name. I'm gonna do whatever I want to.
I know.
You look at the names that are there. You know, Blackburn is such a big club in England. It's not a small club. I still remember, you know, the years when they won the Premier League with Alan Shearer.
Yeah.
So what a great team they had, and I love their logo, by the way.
Yeah.
The Rose. So you know, Blackburn is not a small club, and the other clubs, you know, Burnley, I'm not a fan of, but you know, even if you're talking about QPR is
they have a strong history.
Big club. You know, just having Harry Redknapp as a coach for so many years, you know, it proves how big of a club it is. So,
I mean, they had the legendary Michael Petrasso.
Yeah, when they were in like League Two, like in the fourth division.
Yeah. You're correct.
But yeah, no, you know, they are big clubs, and you have to see the potential in this, right? Like if you're John Herdman, you look at those clubs and you're like, okay, you know, I will have the money to buy players and to show exactly what I'm worth with a good squad, and to maybe achieve promotion and go into the Premier League. So that's something that, you know, every coach wants to coach in the Premier League, right? Like,
of course.
You know, every coach wants to coach in the Premier League or La Liga, or you know, all the five big leagues, right? That's a dream for every coach. And the Premier League and La Liga is even one step further, right?
Thank
so
you,
that's the two best leagues right now in Europe and maybe the world, but that we cannot know, right? So it's interesting. It's very, very interesting for John Herdman, and I'm kind of worried, very, very worried.
Yeah.
But hopefully he will not leave before the World Cup. I'd be very surprised if he does leave before the World Cup.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think he would leave if he has, you know, a very, very, very good proposition.
Yeah, I think it's really important that Canada Soccer shows their commitment to him by basically rolling out the red carpet and offering him a buffet of caviar, soccer-wise.
You know, I kind of think that Herdman is guaranteed 2 World Cups as Canada coach. So I mean, and he's still so young. You know, I don't see why he should rush on one of these propositions, because, you know, everyone has seen the work that he's been done. Obviously, his stock is high, so he wants to bet on himself when his stock is high. But I don't see his stock going drastically low anytime soon or in the next years either. So I kind of feel that if he is to move like in a year or two, or it would be a bit of a shock for me. I really have in my head that John Herdman is going to be coaching Canada at the 2026 World Cup, and then maybe we'll see something different afterwards. But I don't know. I was a bit surprised, but you know, when teams are looking for coaches, media start to throw names out, and John Herdman is an easy one these days. So I don't know.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be too worried if I'm a Canada fan, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough.
Guys, on the women's side, there was some news spreading this week that 5 MLS ownership groups have strong interest in starting NWSL expansion teams, plus 2 non-MLS groups in MLS City, though. It was reported by Grant Wall. You have his tweet on the screen for those who are watching live. The MLS owners are Atlanta, Austin, Cincinnati, Salt Lake, and Toronto. The non-MLS owners are Columbus and the Bay Area in California. Guys, help me with that one. What does all of this mean?
Just give me Canadian professional women's soccer, please. Obviously, women's soccer people are finally waking up to it. We're seeing all kinds of great attendance all over the world for women's soccer. And why wouldn't somebody want to get on board with that train? Because its stock is rising in women's soccer. So I am all there for it. Obviously, I would love to have a city other than Toronto making a move in Canada, and ideally, I would like to have Canada have its own professional league entirely, and not just joining the NWSL, because we know from MLS experience that Canadian cities joining an American league can have complications for those Canadian teams. But overall, I'm always happy to hear about other cities wanting to get in on the women's soccer movement, because it can only mean good things for women's professional soccer.
Yeah. I love, Eve's words. I'm going to be a bit more direct. I don't want the Canadian teams in the NWSL. I just don't. It's as simple as that. Let them, expand and get, 4 or 5 teams in the US. I want our own league. That's all I want.
I swear, Hady, I'm going to make us t-shirts. I'm going to make us t-shirts.
I don't care. NWSL is not enough for me. It's not. And I'm not going to live, again, what we're living here in MLS. I'm not going to live it again with the women's game. I don't. Because, even if on the men's side, it's kind of understandable, because Canada was really far from the level of the US when they first started joining the MLS. On the women's game, it's not the case. Our biggest rivals are the Americans. I don't want to join an American league on the women's side. I just don't. It's as simple as that.
No, I just think it's so important for Canadian soccer that they are able to develop as many of their own domestic players in their own pro league as they want to. Of course, if and when the Canadian league starts, and by all intents and purposes, it looks like Canada Soccer is making moves. They're hiring people to get this up and running. It's obviously not going to happen tomorrow, but there are people being hired, positions being filled, and committees formed and whatnot. So we know things are moving in the right direction, but we know, in early days, of course, players are still going to move to NWSL because it is established, and it does have that certain level, and players are going to want to go to Europe. Of course, it's freaking Europe.
Why not? But again, get expansions in the NWSL.
Yeah.
In American markets.
And have a nifty tournament. Canada. Yeah. And once the Canadian League is established well enough and stuff, have a fun little tournament from time to time.
Exactly. Or the All-Star game would be US against Canada.
Oh, but it'd be cool to have La Liga MX, Liga MX for women's as well in there too. It'd be cool to have an All-Star tournament or something.
Yeah,
that could be nice.
Because the Liga MX, I call it La Liga MX. Liga MX, the women's version is super well established, and they have great players as well. Okay, yeah. So we're getting ahead of ourselves. Canada Soccer. If you need any input, you know where to find us.
No, if you need ideas, and I think even I have quite a few ideas. I don't know if Sam, you have that many ideas, but
questions, but not ideas. But
if you need ideas or anything, where to reach us, right?
Of course.
On the ball is round.
Yeah, but guys, I was just wondering.
Thank you, too, Toto.
Are we? Yeah, thanks, Tito. Tio Toto, I'm sorry.
Tio Toto.
I was talking to Tito Ortiz, the UFC guy. Now, guys, I was wondering, like, at which moment is the can we see maybe a W can PL or something like this? It it has to happen at some point because
Yeah.
they're all exiling. All the Canadian players are exiling, and
Mhm.
you listen to Vanessa Gilles explaining how her passport was the reason why she was able to play in
Yeah.
France, and there's a lot of things that are wrong in this, and I think the CanPL has at some point to open its ground to women
Mhm.
football and make that professional league.
I
I'm
completely agree, Sam. But first of all, the CanPL has to stop losing money.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I know, but
They
they'll
need to
make money
get
with.
established. They need to establish themselves first, and
Yeah,
the
no.
pandemic didn't help. But yeah, that was the plan. And back then, when the commissioner was still David Flanagan, and I
Mhm.
had the opportunity to have him on my previous podcast, he told us, it is the plan. But now with the pandemic, it's a bit harder. It
Mhm.
is still the plan, but yeah, it's very hard
Yeah, no.
to make it work right now for the
Mhm.
CPL.
Yeah. So, like I said, we'll see, but it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with with this news that Grant Wall put out. If
Mhm.
it is, it's good for for the sport, but me too. I kind of would like that Toronto don't get into it and kind of keep a certain exclusivity and maybe one day have
Mhm.
one but you have to go to game at some point, and if it's that, it's that. So guys, I think we're pretty much done with part one of the show. I
Excellent.
throw it out to
Yeah,
Eve for social media.
yeah.
Alrighty.
So let's start with the intro. Okay, I know Eve likes that
Yeah,
one.
she
I
likes
do.
that.
I like that intro. Uh well, yeah. My feelings about our national. I'm really sorry to patriotic Canadians who are into it. I'm really, really, really sorry. Really sorry. I don't have bad feelings. Alrighty. Holy moly. Let's get started on this week's tweets. First up, we have Dan Clark, who asks, following Jonathan David's brace, what are the odds that David stays at Lille, particularly after these 2 goals on the weekend now? And he made a poll in which 68.4% of the respondents said it's less than 10% likely. What do you guys think?
I agree because it's what's really interesting is that Jonathan David didn't have the
Mhm.
same kind of season that he had last year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that means that
Mhm.
his value has dropped. So if
Mhm.
you're an intelligent sporting director, you would go right now because you
Yeah.
would pay maybe 30 or 40 million euros instead of paying 60, 70, or 80 millions if he had a
Mhm.
good year. The
Yeah.
reason behind him not having a good year is because Lille wasn't a really good team this year.
Mhm.
But also we all know Jonathan David, he has like
Ups and
any
downs.
any
Yeah.
young striker, he has
He's
good moments and
yeah.
bad moments, and unfortunately his bad streak was a bit longer than usual this year.
Mhm.
But he has the talent. So if you're intelligent, I would go right for him like right now. So Pablo Longoria, if you're listening to our pod, you can recruit him for Marseille. I allow you to pay 30 million and recruit him.
Oh Lord, Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I would have been in the 10% or less group too, and
Mhm.
just with everything that's coming up, the World Cup that's coming up, and
Mhm.
like Hady said, that's an excellent point, Hady. You don't want to. Sometimes, if you're the big guys, Man City, if you're Madrid, yeah, you're gonna pay for players when they're at the peak of their value. But now, for sure, there's some lower clubs that are looking at there and say, it didn't have a great season, but I think he could fit perfectly in our setup, in our system, and it's time to buy him now because his value is kind of descended. I don't think it descended that much. It
Mhm.
definitely did, but not half the price that they would have paid last year. But it's pretty much the time. Yeah, I'm sure. So I think
Yeah.
he's done with Lily.
Sam, question for you very, very fast. Sorry, Eve. Just one
Mhm.
question. would you forget that you're Canadian and that Jonathan David is Canadian? Would you take him for Manchester United now?
I do not want. I'm sorry, I'm not Sam.
Okay, just like let's say he's a British player named Jonathan David and performances.
Yeah.
No,
I would take him in a heartbeat.
I wouldn't.
Bro, Manchester United is in such a toxic place right now that they need like an exorcism.
But I understand where you're coming. The angle of your question, like being, would he help Manchester United? I don't think he's the profile that Manchester United would need.
I think that he's a natural goal scorer, and that's something that you've missed.
I know, but the thing is that
Ruud van Nistelrooy, in my opinion,
that's what we thought of Marcus Rashford. That's what we thought of Jonathan Greenwood. That's what we thought of a lot of these youngsters. And I think right now what Manchester United need is maybe a 29, 30-year-old established striker.
Yeah, like a veteran. And like with a good character as well. With a good character, working hard, priorities in the right place, not promoting your brand.
Exactly what they did when they went to get Berbatov,
Yeah.
an established, solid, like real pure striker, and transition through him for the kids.
All right.
I'm telling you, if Man United sign Jonathan David, I don't think people will be super happy. I think that's not.
We don't care about people. We don't care about people.
No. But I mean, I'm just thinking of the fans over there. But I would love to see him for sure. But I don't think it's a fit. I don't think it's a fit at all.
Oh wow!
Alrighty. Next up, we have Patrick, PW13, whom we know at the pod certainly. So he mentions that it shows in the most recent match that Choignard went through all the steps of the academy and also has a high football IQ. I think we kind of talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the start of his his tweet is very interesting.
Yeah.
All the steps of the academy.
Yeah.
Because what I think it was Patrick Leduc talking about how much the academy put on technical, the basis of technique and the fundamentals of technical football. And it's not seen it from all the academy players coming up, but you definitely see that Mathieu Choignard has picked that up. And if it's the print for what's to be seen in the next years from academy players, it's very interesting because Choignard is a technically sound player, and he's got mostly his fundamentals right. So it's interesting, very interesting.
Yeah. Alrighty, next up we have friend of the pod, Tristan D'Amour. So I found this to be a hoot and a half. I laughed out loud when I read this on Saturday. He says, to honor Montreal, Miguel Angel Ramirez decided to dress like a plateau artist. $10 says he's wearing beat up New Balances right now. And for those who didn't see the match, I didn't include a picture because I don't want to insult anybody's style. But I had to introduce Sam and Hady to the concept of a mock neck shirt.
Yeah, never heard of that before.
Me neither, man.
I needed to be taught what it was, but
that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
And that's what Miguel Angel Ramirez was there for too.
Yeah, I laughed at Tristan's too. That was good.
Yeah,
and it was exactly in the same times that we were talking about it in the group chat, and you just popped that out, so it was good.
Yeah, but Ramirez's style had nothing on Elsevire's special hairdo. Oh my god, I think he got a yellow card just for that, because in the stats it said yellow card other reason, and I too would have carded him for that ugly hairdo. Alrighty. Next up, for those of you who didn't see it, we have Johnny, who tweeted both players, I think referring to Jonathan Sirois and Sean Ray, deliver highlight reels every week in the CPL. So for anyone who did not watch CPL this weekend, once again, you missed out because there's golazos here, there, and everywhere. And super exciting matches, and there was a lot of action in the CPL. I don't even know where to start, so unfortunately I don't have time. But one of the big moments in CPL this week was Sean Rea with nifty feet and an absolute cannonball of a shot from the top of the box. which he scored in a golazo. In the same match where the Jonathan Sirois saved yet another penalty. That would be his 4th of 5 CPL penalties saved for anyone keeping track.
That's great. And you know what? It shows how much Sean Rea has grown, right? It's not something that you would have seen from the Sean Rea of last year. So it's very interesting. And you know what? Olivier Renard said it a few weeks ago, saying that all the players that were loaned to CPL clubs have improved, and we've seen that during that game. And Jonathan Sirois is still improving and getting experience and getting again penalties stopped, and that's exactly what you want to see from your youngsters.
Indeed.
Yeah, and it's exactly the whole point of sending players out on loan. I think the barometer has to be that they have to be absolutely dominating CPL before really making the step into MLS. And Carrie Fayao did well last year. Jonathan Sirois did well last year. Now they were out there to confirm how well they were doing, and they're just confirming it. So it's gonna be a very interesting camp next year. I know it's in so long, but it's cool to see that our loanies are doing extremely well. If they weren't, it would be very, very worrying.
Yeah. No. Keep on. And actually, Sean Reyes scored that golazo on his birthday. Good for him. Nice. Good for him. Alrighty. And last but most assuredly not least, we have a tweet from Marco, who tunes in regularly. And he comes at us with a question. Remove Pumas from last week's CONCACAF final and replace it with yesterday. Yesterday referring, this was tweeted on Sunday, so he means Saturday's CF Montreal roster and team. Who lifts the trophy? Second question, what's the final score?
Wow.
Marco's feeling bold.
Whew.
I don't care who starts. Go to town.
I can start. The Seattle, that Seattle team, I saw mostly the first game. They went away in Mexico, and they didn't impress me at all. They were, they weren't connecting too well. The game plan was tough, it seems, but they have something. They really, really had like that fighting spirit and that cup spirit. And you saw all the experience of Roldan, of Rui Diaz, and I understand the hype around the team, but it's more than just a good streak from Montreal to be able to beat like a team like the Seattle Sounders in the final of the Champions League. So we would have given him a good fight, I think, but I think Seattle would have won. And to answer Marco, I don't know if he's asking for one game or the aggregate through 2 games. So I'll play the game and I'll go with aggregate on 2 games. I think we would have lost maybe 3-1.
Yeah, I agree with Sam. Everything that he said. The Sounders are just maybe they can have one bad game, but they're such a machine. They're such it's such a good team. And you know what? We talked about it last week with Alain. And for me, this trio up front with Lodero, Morris, Rudias, I think you can't find anything better in North America. It's as simple as that. So Jordan Morris, man, what an amazing player. What a resilient player.
I was going to say, because he's come back from a lot.
Yeah. A lot of injuries. Nico Lodero, I think one of the most undervalued player in MLS history, maybe. This guy is maybe the best player that ever played in MLS. As simple as that. And Raul Rudias is
also lovely.
A pure goal scorer. So and of course you top it off with the Roldan brothers with Alex and Christian. You have João Paulo in the midfield, Albert Rusnak in the midfield, and and Stefan Frey, who's I think the best goalkeeper the league has had in the past 10 years. So
and he's always steps up in these big moments too.
Exactly. He thrives in these moments. Exactly. So No, for me, I would say I'm not going to go with the aggregate. I'm going to go with that last game, and yeah, for me it's a 2 or 3-0 Seattle Sounders. As simple as that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Seattle just as well. They just have such a history of being in these finals. They've been in MLS Cup, many MLS Cup finals, and they've won some, they've lost some, and they've gained that experience. They've learned from it. Brian Schmetzer has been in place for many years now as well, and clearly the team from top to bottom, the entire organization has bought into his game plan 150%. Maybe in 10 years we can. Honestly, I think like 10 years. I'm seriously like 10 years out here. Maybe in 10 years we could talk about Montreal taking that, but Montreal I think is in the neophyte stages. So I also agree that it would still go to Seattle, as much as I'm enjoying Montreal's hot streak right now, and I'm gonna soak up every minute of it.
Likewise.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Hady, that wraps up social media for me, but thank you to Marco for sending in that question. Really appreciate it. It
Thanks,
was
Marco.
cool. It was cool to debate.
Yeah, very, very nice. And thanks. Marco is a big listener of our show, and thanks a lot for always listening to us and asking questions. For all the others, feel free to ask us questions also on Twitter or Facebook if you want to, or send us personally and in DMs if you want to. Your questions.
You're inviting people to slide in our DMs.
Sorry?
I don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah, they can send us a DM. If don't send a DM to Eve.
Send it to us.
She seems very, very, particular with her DMs. So you can send it to me. Or
I'll
to
show you
Sam,
some
and we're gonna
DMs
be
I've
okay.
received in the past if you want.
So let's move on to the last part of the podcast, and it's Who Said That? So let's hear from our good friend, the King.
When the seagulls follow the trawler, it's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you.
Man, every time I hear
I
that,
love
I just he's just
What a
so
weirdo.
funny. He is a weirdo.
Yeah.
So guys, I have a few quotes for you. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's pretty hard, and I think this game is pretty hard altogether. So
I like
but
it.
I'll give you a few quotes. It's more for general knowledge and for culture of the game. It's interesting. So let's not be too competitive, okay, Eve? And just let's try
what's
to
the fun?
Yeah.
What am I
We
doing
will
here
be
then?
competitive, Eve.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Sam.
that's me. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go, Sam.
So let's start with the first saying. I have 5 for you today.
5.
Jeez.
The first one is the first 90 minutes are the most important. So someone said that. It's a coach. Is it Fabio Capello? Is it Jose Mourinho? Is it Pep Guardiola? Or is it Sir Bobby Robson?
Eve,
Who goes
go
first?
first. I'll let you go.
I'm gonna say Sir Bobby.
I say
Sam?
Capello.
And no, it's Sir Bobby. Nice,
Oh,
Eve. Good,
nice, Eve.
good
Nice.
shot. Nice.
Nice.
Second saying, I once cried because I had no shoes to play soccer, but one day I met a man who had no feet. Who said that? Is it Zinedine Zidane, Ronaldinho, Pelé, or Maradona?
Ronaldinho.
I will go for Pele.
No, it's Zinedine Zidane.
Oh.
Okay.
Next one. Football is played with your head. Your feet are just the tools.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Franz Beckenbauer that said that? Andrea Pirlo, Andrei Shevchenko, or Thierry Henry?
I'll say Pirlo.
It is Pirlo. So
Yeah, it is.
it cancels out.
You're right. So 2-1 for Eve right now. 2-1 for Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Another funny one. And this one really cracked me up, but it is really funny. If you eat caviar every day, it is difficult to return to sausages.
Oh,
Who said that? Is it Alex Ferguson? Is it Paul Ince? Is it Arsene Wenger or Paul Gascoigne?
That's a big Gascoigne.
that's who I was gonna guess too.
Go ahead.
No, it's Arsene Wenger.
Wenger. Oh.
Yeah.
I would never think that Arsene Wenger
Me
would talk
neither.
about eating sausages. My God.
And the last one, and I think that's the funniest one. Sorry, I just need to concentrate and say it without laughing. We must have had 99% of the game. It was the other 3% that cost us the match.
Oh no.
So who said that? Is it Ruud Gullit? Is it Ruud van Nistelrooy? Is it Pierre van Hooijdonk? Or is it Edgar Davids? So all Dutch people that I named.
Well, it's obviously someone who struggles in maths. So,
Yeah.
Is it your turn, Eve? Yeah, it's your turn, Eve.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it is. So you had Ruud Gullit, Ruud van
Van
Nistelrooy.
Nistelrooy, Van Hooijdonk, and Davids.
I'll say Van Nistelrooy.
I'll
Sam?
say Edgar David.
And no, it was Ruud Gullit.
Oh, he has a couple of good quotes. I think
Yeah.
I picked a quote from him before.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh,
Eve,
yeah.
you
won.
win.
Woo!
You're the
Yeah.
lucky girl, as usual.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite kind of game. The one I win. Just for that, I will open my DMs for soccer questions and soccer questions only.
Okay, there you go.
So that's it for me for Who Said That. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Very
congrats,
much.
Eve. You beat me. It's okay, man. It's
Oh,
okay.
thank you, Sam. Thank you. You know, my little ego is just like.
Yeah. And thanks to everyone who tuned in and everyone who's going to listen during the week. It's always a pleasure. And thanks to everyone who hit us up on Twitter or on Facebook or on our platforms too. It's always a pleasure. Shout out to Wes Boling, Nashville SC play-by-play man who was there at the start of the show to preview. And thanks to you, Eve and Hady. It was a pleasure as usual. And that being said, we're going to catch you next week. It's Sunday at 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m.
No, not 6:30
No,
p.m.
at 7:30.
7:30. There you go. Thank you. I knew I was making a mistake. 7:30, guys. 7:30 because the game is at 4. Just know
Yeah,
that.
so we need to have time to come back home
My
to
bad.
shoot.
I gotta walk the
7:30.
dog next week.
7:30.
Yeah.
So see you guys. Take care and have a good week.
Alrighty.